You said you're making money, right? You're making good money with boxing. What is it that you still want from the sport?
I haven't even accomplished anything, to be honest with you. I just
You're
want
a
to be.
two-time world champion. Have you not
But
accomplished
that's
anything?
that's that's not enough. That's not enough for me. Especially I feel like once you win the title and win it twice, you feel like the sky's the limit because it's not a dream no more. It can be done. So now my dream right now is just to become a unified world champion at 168, and then go up from there 175, and then cruiserweight.
So what's the route to unified for you at 168?
Just keep doing what I'm doing. I was supposed to fight for all the belts already against Canelo. I'm number one. I'm number one mandatory for Canelo. But if that fight's not going to make it happen, then the good thing about me is I still have a long time. I'm 25 years old, and what really doesn't discourage me at all is you look at a lot of other great champions like Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, Andre Ward, Deontay Wilder. Those dudes were not two-time world champion at 25.
Right.
They were not. I think they started coming into their prime at 27. Errol Spence, how old was he when he won his first world title? Like 27. So I'm already ahead of those guys.
Well, what does that mean in terms of how you look at yourself? Do you see yourself as a young fighter because you are young, like you say, you're 25, or do you look at yourself compared to like a Shakur Stevenson, a Teofimo Lopez, those guys that are coming through, and consider yourself an OG because of the amount of time that you've been in the pros already?
Yeah, I feel like a young veteran. But honestly, I've been professional for 9 years. That's almost 10 years. That's almost a decade right there.
Yeah.
I feel like I put the groundwork in to make all these big fights already, and I'm surprised they haven't happened already. Like with Caleb, Plant, Charlo, all these other guys, I'm ready for it.
Next step on the list for you, next step in the journey is David Lemieux, right? Which is May 21st, the fight set for. There was a period of time where he was a really dangerous fighter. Truthfully, do you still think that he's a really dangerous fighter?
The way you approach these fights, you got to feel like this is the best they're ever going to be in order for you to be as ready as you could be. And that's the way I prepare for anybody. When I prepared for Anthony Durrell, when I prepared for Angulo, for Ronald Ellis, I told myself, this is the best they're going to be. So you got to be ready for whatever comes. You can't be like, oh, they're old, because once you let your guard down like that, that's when you get surprised. So that's why I work extremely hard, because David Lemieux, he's not really that old. I think he's he's not old at all. He's 32 years old, 32 or 33. He's been there for a long time. He has a lot of experience. And the thing about fighters, when they get to the end of their career, the last thing to go is power. So I can't sit here and tell you that he can't hurt me, he can't do none of this, because we both have a chin and we could both get hurt. That's why I was so in training camp for so long too, and that's why I just stayed here, because I was like, man, I got to be ready. This is another title for me. This is another opportunity. So I know he's motivated because it's another title for him if he wins. So. This is a big opportunity for both of us.
When you're talking about the length of training camp, you're referring to what you told me before we started recording, right? Which is the fact that you thought initially the fight was going to be in March, I think, and that got pushed back until May 21st. So you started your training camp in San Diego in January. How sick do you feel of training camp?
I was thinking of this the other day. Once you're in training camp for more than 3 months, it feels like it's purgatory. It just keeps going, and the days keep repeating over and over again. And I'm not really sick of training. The only thing that sucks is that I'm away from my son and my wife. But this is, like I said, this is a big opportunity, and I'm doing this for my wife and for my son.
So you mentioned a couple of the fights out there that would be perceived as bigger fights for you, right? Which would be the Jermall Charlo fight, the Caleb Plant fight. Which of those two fighters do you think is the better fighter, Caleb Plant or Jermall Charlo?
I feel like they both got their good abilities. They're both different fighters. Caleb Plant is more of a boxer. Charlo is more of a he's a brawler, he's a puncher. I can't really tell you who's harder or who's better fighter. They're both top level fighters. At this level, you just gotta be ready, because there's no easy fight no more. They're both good fighters. They're both world champions.
But people judge off the eye test, right? You can't make a judgment off the eye test. Which of the two you think is the better guy?
The more dangerous guy is Charlo because actually has he has more knockout power. The thing about Caleb Plant, he doesn't have knockout power, but he could box around you. But the thing about it is when somebody doesn't have knockout power, they're more susceptible to get knocked out themselves because they can't hurt their opponent.
So even though he's a true 168 pounder, you think the more dangerous fight is Jermall Charlo?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So you've already been a champion twice, right? You went pro at 16. Where do you go from here? You said undisputed. How much longer do you see yourself at 168 to make that happen before you then make the move to 175? And would you be making the move because you feel like you need to? Because cutting weight is getting harder, which it does with age, right? Or is it just because I want to be at multiple divisions and add those accolades?
The only reason I'll move up to 175 is if I can't get the fights with Caleb Plant, Canelo, or Charlo.
Within what time frame? What's the period of time you look at and say, I have to get those fights within what?
Maybe the next 2 years.
Okay.
I don't see why it wouldn't be possible to make those fights happen in the 2 years, because if you really look at it, Charlo, he's closer to the end of his career than he is to his prime. So who else is he fighting? You know, he's talking about he makes so much money, this and that. He would make 10 times more money fighting me than the guy he's fighting now. He's fighting, no disrespect to the guy, he's a Polish guy, but I don't really know who he is. He's never been a world champion. That wouldn't be a pay-per-view fight. Me and him could potentially be a pay-per-view fight. Caleb Plant, you know, he just came off the loss. He said he wants to fight Canelo again, but he's not going to get to Canelo again if he doesn't fight me. So we all kind of need each other, you know. So I feel like I've been saying this for a while. I feel like a lot of these fighters are so arrogant that they don't admit that we all need each other. I need them to get to the next level, and they need me to get to the next level.